Now, for a second day, individual bondholders have picketed the Ministry of Finance, demanding total exemption from the domestic debt exchange program. The finance minister indicated that was unlikely when he met with them. Now, the pensioners say they will continue with their protests until they get favorable response. Take a listen to one of them.
Today, indeed, let me say, from last month, we made petitions to His Excellency and to the minister. Fortunately, we've not been intercepted with bullets to kill us. However, I want to draw attention that about 4 years ago, during the banking restructuring, several of our people died. They died out of poverty because what they planned is not what came to be. So blood was shed. Now, as we stand here, we represent a section of the whole society. In 1948, it was soldiers. But here, as we stand, farmers, fishermen, soldiers, lawyers, judges, policemen, engineers, doctors, Macaulay women, economists, every group within the sector of the society. We are here, and we are veterans. Why are some of us, even as we speak, because of desperation, fear, having strokes, and some dying? Blood is still being shed. I want us to remind ourselves of what happened 75 years ago, and remind ourselves of what is happening now. We are still pleading with His Excellency, and now with the Minister of Finance, Ken Oforata, to consider the total exempts. God bless our homeland, Ghana.
While convener of the individual pension bondholders has rejected the finance minister's assertion that the domestic debt exchange program will be derailed if individual bondholders are exempted. Let's hear from Dr. Edu Anani Entry.
We're trying to meet the minister and get some information for us to look at, some figures. So that was the decision we were taking at that time.
So who did you meet at the ministry, and what was the conversation?
Well, we haven't met anybody, but at least we met the PR people who are supposed to arrange the meeting for us to meet the minister. So they are working on it.
It is from yesterday and today. It won't be far-fetched to say that it is quite clear that your demands may not be met, because the finance minister came to meet you. He stated the same position, he stated in the evening's broadcast to the nation, and so it is clear that government may not meet your decision, which means that your modus operandi may not fetch the result you want. Any consideration apart from the picketing?
Well, we believe that if exemption is given to the pensioners, the program will not be derailed unless we are proved. There's a proving record, things to show that if we are exempted, the program will be derailed. We don't believe that, and there is nothing that we have to base to change our belief that this is true. So if somebody just come verbally and say, if you don't come on board, we are not going to succeed. Meanwhile, the thing is voluntary. So you ask yourself, well, the thing is voluntary. So assuming you don't exempt me, because you think that if you exempt me, the program will fail. If you haven't exempted me, and I decide not to come in, will your program be successful? That question should be answered by the minister.
Well, government has been accused of engaging illegally and dictatorially under the domestic debt exchange program. According to the General Agricultural Workers Union, government is refusing to consider alternatives like downsizing to solve the current economic crisis. The union is urging all to kick against the program. Take a listen to General Secretary Edward Karuwe.
from nowhere without consultations. They thought that they could go and take our pensions. Who is the government for? Is it not the government of the people and for the people? Who elected them? Who are they managing for? Why do you come to take our pensions, attach them without our consultations? So you saw what we did. We said, no, we will not sit down and allow this to happen. We threatened to go on strike. We had some consultations with them. They made public pronouncements that it is excluded. But you see, that is not enough. They went to the individual bonds. Our members, some of our members have bought individual bonds too. Government is simply engaging in illegality. I know, and dictatorship. Just like when we insisted that e-levy was going to solve all our problems, we fought over it, created rancor in parliament, everywhere, poisoning the whole society, created acrimony among the Ghanaian populace. Eventually, e-levy came. What are the results? This mentality of our governments and our rulers is wrong. There is always an alternative. Except that the one who says there's no alternative is not ready to go for the other alternative, because that alternative, he or she believes that it is costly. Has government been able to cut down their size? You can't tell us that we in Labour will not believe it, that we don't have alternatives. The alternative is there. Government is simply not ready to act on it. So the domestic debt exchange is a killer, not for today, but for future. It will kill us today. It will kill the future. You see, it will kill the future. And we must all rise up and resist some of the things that government is doing. As for the individual bondholders, thing they are also going in for, we say no, no, no to it.
Well, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has given assurance of undertaking the necessary expenditure cuts to complement the domestic debt exchange program. The Finance Minister Monday made a final appeal for bondholders to sign up for the program, which is set to expire today. The minister said the economy risks collapsing if progress is not made.
Of the DDEP, the government has engaged in good faith discussions and extensive stakeholder engagements with all groups in order to reach a resolution that ensures an orderly path out of our economic challenges, anchored by a sense of community and empathy. Ladies and gentlemen, these significant amendments have enabled government to reach an agreement with key major domestic creditor categories, including banks, insurance companies, capital market players, and foreign holders of domestic debt in relation to their participation in the DDEP. Undoubtedly, the participation of the banks, insurance companies, and the securities industry under the enhanced DDEP is a significant milestone which represents a response to a call to national duty. It is a critical step to restore macroeconomic stability, accelerate Ghana's economic growth under an IMF program, and leverage other international financial support. On the back of these recent developments, the comprehensive agreement of the key stakeholders and the enhancement of the DDEP, Government 1 expects the full participation of institutional stakeholders and mobilization of all qualified investors to ensure the success of the debt exchange operation. And 2, encourages eligible individual holders to voluntarily tender their holdings. Frankly, fellow citizens, non-participation or a lower than expected turnout for the DDEP will prolong efforts to resolve the current economic crisis. In addition, the prospects of international financial support and other financial assurances will be jeopardized. The development could further put strain and stress on government's capacity to honor key commitments. This is not what we want for our economy.
Well, joining us on Zoom, Dr. Daniel Amatenim, who is the Executive Director of the Policy Initiative for Economic Development. Thanks for your time. So the Finance Minister attempting to convince individual bondholders one more time to sign on to the Debt Action Program. Did his message resonate?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the last discussing this issue, I indicated clearly that in respect of negotiations and dialogue, the Finance Ministry have not done so much in terms of engaging the critical stakeholders. It appears that he prefers using the media platform to communicate government position to the stakeholders. And to me, that is not so good. The best approach is to identify these critical stakeholders and you engage them in caucus. Caucus means that you put across the impact of their failure to agree to the proposal from government and the effort to restore macro stability. So all these things have to be done in caucus. And once you finalize decisions, then you can now come out to put it across. But it appears that the Honorable Finance Minister always resort to press releases and press conferences, which is not working in my view. It's quite unfortunate that we are at this stage of our economic life as a nation, which we could have avoided. Some of us might have seen it and then make critical suggestions to government over the past. But I think going forward, I'm of the view that the pensioners should be exempted. Why am I saying so? These are people who are not economically active and they rely largely on this investment for their survival, be it medical survival, economic survival, and even some of them to the extent they have dependents that they are using the proceeds to cater for them. So taking them from this arrangement, in my view, will order well for the pensioners. And with respect to other individual bondholders, I think consultation, I've indicated the last time, is the best approach. But the unilateral decision, it appears that they are not in consonance with the unilateral decision from government. And to me, that is the challenge. In the critical moment like this, the way out is dialogue and consultation, which in my view, the Honorable Finance Minister and the team failed to address that particular issue. But I think going forward, it's never too late to try and convince them. I've listened to his communique. It appears that government is indeed appealing to the conscience of bondholders in a quest to revive the economy. But I think they need to step up their game by going just beyond the statement, by way of engaging the critical stakeholders and coming out with an alternative that will ensure that it will mitigate any economic hardship that they may encounter as a result of this particular arrangement.
Talk about alternatives. I'll ask you about that in a moment, but the Finance Minister warns the economy could collapse if we don't make progress. That certainly should be a concern for everybody, including the bondholders.
Yeah, my brother, the point is that we have appointed the managers of the economy in the first place to manage the economy.
Okay, I think we have a bit of a challenge with the connection to Dr. Daniel Amatenim. He appears to be frozen there a bit, but we're just discussing the Finance Minister's address to the country once again as the Domestic Debt Action Program, the deadline for signing up expires. You're making a point, Dr. Amatenim.
Yes, what I'm saying is that government should understand, because in the first place, bondholders have appointed managers of the economy to manage our economy in a manner that we don't have to swallow the bitter pills all the time. So they have failed in that particular respect. And they should be able to communicate clearly to the bondholders to appreciate that, yes, we have failed to do A, B, C, D, but we are at a critical point that there's a need for all of us to come on board to restore macroeconomic stability or to revive the economy. So I believe strongly that once that admission is made, of course, then the bondholders, but if it is, we are making a statement which appears that government is entitled to do that, of course, then bondholders have no option than to comply with what government is saying. To my mind, I think that is inappropriate, because as a government, they failed to actually do what is needful to manage the economy in a manner that investors can have access to their money at any point in time. Okay, but I understand we are at a very critical stage where we all need to come on board. But the bottom line is about dialogue and consultation. And the finance minister should appreciate that and try and convince them, just beyond telling them that the economy is at a point where it will collapse. But because from the lifestyle of people who are in government, we are not seeing that. And that is a fact. So once bondholders are not seeing that commitment from government in terms of cutting down on their expenditure, living a lifestyle that will ensure that we are all sacrificing, I'm afraid they'll find it very difficult to comply or to agree with government in this particular respect.
Isn't it too late to be talking alternatives right now?
It's certainly too late, I agree. I think the last time they postponed the day, I had an opportunity of engaging the media. I indicated that it is an opportunity for them to speedily facilitate their negotiation with the bondholders. As it stands now, it's quite too late. Where I sit, I'm very mindful and I'm aware that they need to fulfill this condition if they really need the IMF inflow into that economy. So the finance minister actually is very hot in terms of meeting the deadline and vis-a-vis bringing on board the IMF money. So it's quite too late. It's quite too late, but they can quickly put some few things around by appealing to the conscience of the individual bondholders, or quickly try to adjust the kind of arrangement that will mitigate any hardship, probably. So let me be a little bit empirical here. Of course, they can't come out with an arrangement with some of the commercial banks that any pensioner that may need any facility from the bank, of course, Ghana government, for the fact that they are holding EID bonds, could serve as a security for them to borrow at a very competitive rate until such a time when government is able to pay their investment. To me, if such an arrangement comes on board, it will convince individual bondholders, more importantly, the pensioner, to be able to comply with government directives.
Before you go, we just have a minute. I want to speak to you briefly about the situation in Turkey. I know you work a lot with the business community there. I read today that the lira, the Turkish currency, fell to a record low yesterday following the earthquakes, but it's recovering now. What sentiments are you picking up from the business community?
Yeah, you are certainly right. In fact, a lot of people who plan visiting Turkey for the purposes of business and tourism have to cancel their flights. They are a little bit skeptical, uncertain about the development there. But I think the Turkish government is speedily putting things around to ensure that the occurrence that don't affect businesses as well as tourism. So yes, it has affected their currency. If you recall, critically, during the peak of the COVID-19, the next destination for Ghanaian businesses is Turkey. And a lot of people are now buying from there because, number one, competitive prices. Even though China is, in terms of prices, China is better, but in terms of quality, Turkey is still ahead. Proximity, and because there's a straight flight here from Accra to Istanbul. So yes, it's having some kind of swift impact on the economy, but the government is reassuring the business community that they are putting in mechanism. This is a natural phenomenon. It's beyond technology, but they are putting in mechanism to ensure that anybody that will visit Turkey from today on will be assured of safety, will be assured of a business environment that will assure its safety and return back to its motherland.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel Martin, Executive Director of the Policy Initiative for Economic Development. Demand for dollars continued to ease as the Bank of Ghana sold only $9.2 million on the spot market. Analysts believe the progress made by government on the domestic debt exchange program will positively improve confidence in the economy, bolstering the outlook of the Cedi. There is more in this report.
The Cedi gained across all the major trading currencies last week. It's actually appreciated by 10 pesos to the dollar yesterday to sell at 12 cedis, 40 pesos to a dollar. This reduced its year-to-date loss. Many analysts and market watchers have expressed surprise of the sudden resurgence of the Cedi, but this could be primarily due to the progress made by governments regarding the domestic debt exchange program. The deadline for the program is expected to end today. All things being equal, the attainment of the 80% subscription target will enhance the outlook of the Cedi for the rest of the year.
All right, let's turn to other news for you. The International Cocoa Initiative, ICI, has started implementing a remediation system to curtail child and forced labor in cocoa-producing communities in Ghana. Deputy Country Director Prince James says the system has an inherent goal of helping to improve the income of farmers. The ICI has collaborated with the Ghana Agriculture and Rural Development Journalists Association to build the capacity of journalists in reporting on child and forced labor. Anita Sewajuga has more in this report.
The International Labour Organization estimates that out of 24.9 million people who are in forced labour, 4.3 million are children. The United Nations Children's Fund, through its principles and guidelines for media reporting on children, expects journalists to protect children in reporting on child and forced labour. In line with this, the International Cocoa Initiative has trained 35 agriculture and rural development journalists from 4 cocoa-producing regions in child and forced labor. The training is to deepen journalists' understanding and also improve their skills for writing ethical reports on child and forced labor. Prince James is Deputy Country Director of the International Cocoa Initiative.
We expect the media to use their platform to create more awareness on the issue of child labor, and also to distinguish between what a child can do and what a child cannot do, which I called them acceptable and unacceptable work for children. So since the media has that kind of platform and it's a wider platform, it could help a lot if they intensify the campaign and awareness raising on the need for parents, the need for everyone to be involved in the fight against child labor.
Prince James spoke about the ICI's remediation system to curtail child and forced labor in cocoa-producing communities in Ghana.
What is currently ongoing is the support to farmers in terms of improving on their income activity, which include the farmers, helping farmers to do village savings and loan association, also helping farmers also to diversify their incomes, such as having other additional livelihood also as well.
President of the Ghana Agriculture and Rural Development Journalists Association, Richmond Frimpong, emphasized the need to empower journalists to report adequately on child and forced labor.
And as we conclude this afternoon, an update for you on ministerial appointments. The president has finally listened to calls for a reshuffle somewhat, and then made some new appointments to replace some of the ministers that have headed out to pursue their campaigns for 2024. And so that story on My Joy Online, after months of calls from the general public, President Kwawu has made changes to his government, comes after former Trade Minister Ala Tramateng and Agric Minister Dr. Osefie resigned to focus on their respective political campaigns. If you go down there, there's a full list. If you could go up, yep. While we look at the full list, Member of Parliament for Adanse Asokwa Katie Hammond has been appointed Minister Designate for Trade and Industry. Member of Parliament for Abetifi Brian Champon appointed Minister Designate for Food and Agriculture. Member of Parliament for Karaga, Mohammed Amin Adam, who was stationed at the Energy Ministry as Deputy Minister, has been given a new post. He has been appointed Minister of State at the Finance Ministry. He's set to replace Charles Edubuaine. And so that's the latest. You can read more on that on myjoyonline.com. My name is Daryl. Thanks for watching The Marketplace. We will be back same time tomorrow.